Welcome to Lotus Lane Daily. I'm glad you're here. Today's wisdom is for anyone going through something hard. You know that feeling when you look at the bank account, see something your partner bought, and feel a flash of something that is not quite anger and not quite fear, but some tight, corrosive mixture of both? You do not say anything right away. You close the app, you stare at the ceiling for a moment, then you carry it around all day, this small, hard stone in your chest, until it either comes out badly over dinner or gets swallowed and added to a growing pile of things you have stopped talking about. Money arguments in a marriage are rarely about money. That sounds like a cliche until you are actually in one. Then you realize it is precisely true. The fight about the credit card charge is actually a fight about security versus freedom. The argument about the vacation budget is actually about whose idea of a good life gets to count. The silence after one of you checks the statement is actually about whether you trust each other, whether you feel heard, whether you are genuinely building the same thing or just cohabiting inside two different financial philosophies that happen to share a bank account. If you have different money values than your partner, you are not in a doomed marriage. You are in a real one. But the distance those differences create, left unaddressed, can grow into something that touches everything. Why money goes so deep. Money is not just numbers. By the time we are adults, our relationship with money is embedded in some of our oldest feelings about safety, about worth, about what we deserve, about what the future holds. Someone who grew up with scarcity treats every purchase as a potential threat. Someone who grew up in abundance may not understand why their partner flinches at a restaurant bill that feels normal to them. Neither one is wrong. They are just carrying different histories into the same household. The saver looks at the spender and sees recklessness, a disregard for the future, a partner who will not be there for them when things get hard. The spender looks at the saver and sees anxiety, a refusal to enjoy what they have worked for, a partner who treats every moment of pleasure as something to be earned and deferred. Both of them love each other. Both of them are also, on some level, terrified, just of different things. What makes this so hard is that money decisions happen constantly. Every week, sometimes every day, you are making small and large financial choices that either confirm or violate each other's sense of safety. It is not like a one-time disagreement you can resolve and move on from. It is a recurring test embedded in the texture of ordinary life. The conversations that do not happen. Most couples talk about money in reactive mode, after the credit card statement arrives, after the unexpected expense, after one person notices the savings account is lower than expected. These conversations happen under stress, which means they happen defensively. Defenses go up, old arguments get rehashed, and nobody really gets to the thing underneath. The conversation that actually helps is the one almost nobody has. What does money mean to you? What are you afraid of? What does security feel like to you? And what does generosity feel like? When you imagine the life you want in 20 years, what role does money play in it? These are not comfortable questions. They require a kind of vulnerability that most of us were not taught to practice around something as charged as finances. But without them, you are arguing about symptoms forever, while the actual disagreement, the one about values, fear, and what kind of life you are trying to build together, stays buried. A writer who spent decades thinking about what makes relationships last once said, "Dialogue starts with listening, truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to speak, but genuinely trying to understand another person's heart. That is the work, not winning the argument, understanding what is actually being said beneath the numbers, things that actually move the needle. Separate the shared from the personal, on purpose." A structure that many couples find workable. Shared expenses go into a joint account that both contribute to, proportionally if your incomes differ significantly. Beyond that, each person has a personal account with money that is genuinely theirs, no explanation required. The saver can save it, the spender can spend it. Neither one gets to judge. This does not solve every disagreement, but it removes a large category of daily friction by giving each person a domain where their values get to win. Agree on a threshold, not on every decision. Rather than trying to get to a place where you both agree on every purchase, agree on a number, a real number, above which you check in with each other before spending. Below that threshold, each person acts independently. This respects the autonomy of both people while still creating a mechanism for the large decisions that actually matter. Make the future concrete enough to share. A lot of money arguments exist because both people have different fantasies about the future, but have never made them explicit. What does retirement actually look like? Where do you want to live? What do you want to be able to give your kids, or your parents, or yourselves? When you put numbers and timelines on those visions, disagreements about current spending often resolve themselves, because now you can see whether what you're doing today is getting you there or not. Stop keeping score. In many couples with different money values, a quiet ledger gets maintained. I let you buy that, so now I get to, or you spend on that, so you cannot complain about this. The ledger always grows and it never balances. Drop it. You are not two separate parties in a negotiation. You are supposed to be on the same side. Get a third party involved if you are stuck. A couples therapist who understands financial dynamics, or a financial planner you both agree to work with, can provide a neutral space for these conversations. This is not an admission of failure. It is what it looks like to take the problem seriously, what you are really trying to build. The goal is not to make your partner think about money the same way you do. After years of different formative experiences, that is probably not going to happen, and trying to force it is the source of a great deal of unnecessary conflict. The goal is something more achievable: mutual respect for two different sets of values, combined with enough shared structure that those differences do not constantly collide. An old collection of letters on human relationships makes an observation that has stayed with me. The essence of dialogue is the willingness to change. If you enter a conversation determined not to change your mind, it is not dialogue, it is a lecture. Both people in this dynamic have to be willing to move. The saver has to be willing to acknowledge that joy now is not the enemy of security later. The spender has to be willing to acknowledge that the future is real and worth protecting. Neither of you is the reasonable one, and neither of you is the problem. You are two people with different histories trying to share a life. That is genuinely hard work. But it is work that is worth doing. Because when couples manage to actually get on the same page about money, something relaxes between them that they often did not even know was tense. You do not have to agree about everything. You just have to be able to talk about it. That is a lower bar than it sounds, and it is the one that actually matters. That's the wisdom for today. If something here landed for you, share it with one person who might need to hear it too. Take it slow. I'll see you tomorrow on Lotus Lane Daily.